What's going on, guys? And today I'm doing my finalized video for All-Star Game picks. This will be my final video for the picks, and I will do a reaction video to who are selected this Thursday night. I don't know when the video will be up, but I will do a reaction to which players are selected. So let's get started. First things first, East starting. You already knew this. This has been announced about a week ago. Shout out to Bobby Shmurda for that great lyric. But we knew about this. I'm not going to talk much, but we have Kyrie, DeMar, LeBron, Jimmy Butler, and Giannis. So my whole view upon this starting line, I thought it was fine. I would much rather see guys in either Kyle Lowry or Kemba Walker start, or maybe even Isaiah Thomas. But the thing is, starting spots don't really matter anymore, apparently in the new CBA, where it doesn't affect the Rose provision. So I'm not really for or against people starting unless they don't deserve it. But all 5 guys here definitely deserve it. They would have made my reserves if they weren't starters, so I have no issue whatsoever with any of these guys. You know what these guys do anyway, so let's not talk about them too much, but let's go on to our reserves. So the Eastern Conference reserves, not that many surprise picks besides maybe one I'll talk about soon, but in my starting or reserve backcourt, I have Isaiah Thomas and John Wall. Both guys having a great season, both doing really well for their respective teams, where Isaiah Thomas is averaging like 29 points a game and he's leading the league in fourth quarter points. He's just absolutely incredible this season. He's really clutch, and he's the biggest reason with him and Al Horford why the Celtics are so successful. John Wall, while he isn't the scorer of Isaiah Thomas, he's a much better playmaker and defender, and the Wizards are doing better than expected, and he's been really solid, so he deserves a spot as well. Now to do the front court, I have Paul George, Kevin Love, and Joel Embiid. Now Paul George has been struggling a little bit, at least compared to what he usually does, and the Pacers have been a little bit worse than expected. However, I still think the team and he is good enough to warrant an All-Star Game spot, so he is going to be on this list. Kevin Love is starting to go back towards his Minnesota numbers a few years ago. And the thing is, he's playing really well in a system. Many people didn't think he would get back to his solid numbers, but he's averaging a 2010 season, and he's fairly efficient, and he's a big reason why the Cavaliers are doing so well this season. Alright, up next I have Joel Embiid, which is probably my only controversial pick, where almost everyone else you see on the screen right now, everyone would have. The reason why I chose Embiid over the likes of guys in Paul Millsap and Dwight Howard, and maybe even Porzingis, is because when the Sixers are playing with him, they're super good, but when he's on the court, they're pretty terrible. Showing the fact that he is probably the most important player, well, he is, definitely, everyone knows that, he is the most important player to the 76ers. Therefore, I feel like he needs to be there, because if he was able to play, like, let's say 32 minutes a night, and he's able to play 32 minutes a night and he doesn't need to rest back-to-backs or all the time, I think that the Sixers could be a playoff team or a borderline playoff team similar to the Bulls as they are right now. Now, I know that might sound like a stretch, but he's been absolutely incredible. I don't know his exact on and off numbers, but I know they are a positive, the Sixers are, with him on the court, which we haven't seen in years for the Sixers, but with him off the court, I think they're like minus 200 for the season. So another reason why people don't want him in there is because he's on a minutes restriction, but that's a really terrible argument considering the fact there's many other good starting guys that aren't averaging that many minutes. Embiid's at, I believe, 25 or 26, but there's other guys in Jonas Valanciunas, and I think even Marcin Gortat are not much more. Neither of those guys are all-stars, but no one complains that they're playing too little. So it's more of a technicality than anything if people complain about it. Now to go on to my 2 final spots, they both go to guards, and Kyle Lowry and Kemba Walker. Both guys have had amazing seasons so far. The Hornets are up and down, but the thing is, Kemba has been a steadying force and been absolutely incredible this season. And Kyle Lowry is one of the biggest reasons why, if not the biggest reason why, the Raptors have been so good. He's shooting it incredibly from deep. I honestly thought he would start to decline, but he seems to be plateauing at a very nice level, where I don't know if he can actually be better than he was this season, or even last. But the thing is, he is at a very high point. He's at a peak in his life, and in terms of his NBA career, so I'm happy for him. So he definitely deserves a spot on my All-Star team. Now here are my guys who didn't make the cut. Drummond, Dwight Howard, and Whiteside. All 3 guys are big men, and I just felt like all these guys had one flaw that couldn't put them in it. So for Drummond, it's because his team is just iffy, and I don't know, I'm not impressed by Drummond this year compared to last. His numbers are very similar, but the Pistons aren't doing as well as many expected, and I'm just not impressed whatsoever by any of his stats. Whiteside is because of the fact that I believe he was out for a little bit with an eye injury, and also the Heat are absolutely horrendous this year. But speaking about the Heat, Dion Waiters' game winner over the Warriors was absolutely incredible, including a celebration. A little aside, but yeah, that's the reason why I can't have Whiteside, but he's having a phenomenal year. As an injury reserve, I can see him sneaking in there. And finally, I have Dwight Howard, a guy who I had the entire time. The main reason I had Dwight Howard was I like to reward guys for doing well, and he's doing incredibly well on the Hawks. And even though they're a good team, I feel like Embiid is more impactful to his team, and I'd much rather see Joel Embiid than Dwight Howard currently. I wouldn't mind if there is an injury or they need an injury reserve spot and Dwight Howard makes the team, but until that point, I'd much rather see Joel Embiid. Now also talking, maybe you might want to see Porzingis or Melo, but the Knicks are just so horrendous, I can't have either on the team, and I didn't completely forget to put them on the honorable mentions, but I thought these would be the next three up. Moving on to the Western Conference, we see it right here, you know about it. Yes, I do think that Westbrook should have been a starter, but I'm not super upset by it, mainly because of the fact that it has no effect on any of his contracts or any effect on him in general. I think it'd be much more fun with him in there, and it would make a lot more sense. I wish, the thing is, I wish it happened, and I definitely think it should have, but there's no way I'm going to get upset, because the thing is, he's going to make the All-Star game. If he doesn't make the All-Star game, that's when people could be upset. But I think the whole idea is, it's alright to say, oh, it's dumb, but as long as the right guys get in, we're perfectly fine. So as you see, Steph, Harden, Kawhi, KD, and AD are all in. I not predicted, but I chose all four, with, of course, Westbrook being in for Steph, and that's pretty much what everyone thinks. But in general, these guys are perfectly fine. They're all doing pretty well, so I think they all deserve spots. Now to go to my reserves. This might surprise some people, but yes, I do have Westbrook, no surprise. But another guy that actually might surprise some people is Damian Lillard. I'm starting to see him getting snubbed quite a bit because of the fact how bad the Trailblazers are this year. I've even seen guys like Eric Bledsoe going in front of him. At this point, maybe, because Bledsoe has been doing really phenomenally the past few days, and past few games actually. But Lillard still deserves a spot in my opinion. He had some injury issues, and I think the reason why the Blazers are doing bad isn't completely his fault. Yes, he's a horrendous defender, but that's not the reason why. I think the other big reason was horrible offseason spending, unluckiness with the injuries, where if Festus Ezeli was healthy, they'd be much better, and that's the guy who they really need on their team. They are pretty good at rim protection by advanced stats, but the thing is, I think if they had a real shot blocker on their team and Festus Ezeli, who's currently hurt, I think they'd be much better. So I can't see penalizing him too much. I still think he deserves to be an all-star. He's still having a pretty good season, so that's why I'm putting him in there. Alright, now moving on to my front court, I have Gordon Hayward, Draymond Green, and DeMarcus Cousins. Gordon Hayward has been a huge reason why, if not the largest reason why, the Jazz have been so good this year. And he's just been a steadying force, been really solid. He's like a mini LeBron, where he can put up like 22, 5, and 4, rack up a steal, maybe block a game. So he's not like at the same level as LeBron, but he's still pretty nice to have on your team. So that's Gordon Hayward, in my personal opinion, should be in there. Draymond Green, of course, another Warrior, should be in there. He's had a really good season. I chose him for Defensive Player of the Year at the mid-season point, and even though I don't like him whatsoever, nor the Warriors, he still deserves a spot on the All-Star team. DeMarcus Cousins has had a phenomenal year, and even though the Kings have started to plummet, he's not the reason why. It's because of injuries, it's mainly to Rudy Gay, and because of the fact that the Kings have not been a legit NBA franchise in over a decade, it feels like. So I feel bad for him, but he has had such a phenomenal season, he definitely needs to be in the All-Star game. Now my two final guys, it's the exact opposite of the Eastern Conference, where my two extra guys are actually centers compared to point guards, and Rudy Gobert and Marc Gasol. Now Marc Gasol has had a great year, he's improved his game, he now has a 3-point shot, and he's just trying to revolutionize his game to the modern day era. He's doing a phenomenal job, and he's the biggest reason why the Grizzlies are doing well. Mike Conley could be in here, but he did have that back injury, which put him out for quite a bit. And I don't like putting guys who have been out for long periods of time. Joel Embiid, some people might argue about that, but the thing is that was rest, and I just feel like the difference, Embiid's impact on his team is much greater than Mike Conley. You might hate that, but in my opinion, if you watch the Grizzlies without Conley, they can tread water, but without Embiid, the Sixers are a mess. Now finally I have Rudy Gobert, who's had a phenomenal season, and yes, I have two Jazz players on the All-Star game team, or All-Star roster, and even though there's other teams that might have better records, such as the Rockets and the Spurs, and they only have one guy, I think that the Jazz deserve two, because they're doing better than most people expected. Most people expect them to be like 5 or 6, or maybe even 7, but I believe they're 4th right now, or 5th, whatever it is. They seem to be doing very well. Rudy Gobert is one of the greatest defensive centers currently in the NBA. I believe he's third in rim protection stats, so he's doing a phenomenal job. So that are my two teams, and let's go on to my snubs for the Western Conference, or the just missed the cut. I have Karl-Anthony Towns, Klay Thompson, and DeAndre Jordan. Before I go any further, if you guys haven't noticed, I did not have Chris Paul on the team because of injury. I definitely think Chris Paul deserves a spot if he wasn't injured, so maybe he might get on there and then they'll put a guy in for an injury reserve at his spot. But that's the reason why you don't see him on there. I probably should have said that earlier, but that's just a heads up. So my three guys are Towns, Klay Thompson, and DeAndre Jordan. Towns, the Wolves, have been absolutely horrendous this year, so I can't put him on the team. He's had a pretty solid season, but not good enough numerically and stats-wise to warrant his being on the All-Star game, yet his team being so horrendous. Klay Thompson, I don't like Klay Thompson that much, or at all. So it's a personal opinion, and the biggest reason why I didn't put him on there. But also I feel like the Warriors, even though they're having a great season, I don't know about putting 4 Warriors, and I feel like Klay is the least important out of those 4. He's still having a good season, but not to his standards. So I think, due to expectations, he doesn't deserve a spot. And finally, DeAndre Jordan. This is a nod to the Clippers as well as DeAndre, who's having one of his best seasons ever. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I believe he's close to his career high in points and rebounds per game. And he's a big reason why the Clippers, when Blake Griffin and Chris Paul were both down, why they just didn't completely fall into mediocrity. So I think he deserves, maybe if there's an injury replacement, he can get on there. And I think it'd be good for him because he's always been a pretty solid center. At least he has been for the past 3 or 4 years. And I think he deserves an all-star game, or an all-star spot soon enough, similar to Tyson Chandler a few years ago. Anyways, guys, that was my finalized rosters for the All-Star game, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Comment down below some guys I might have not put on there, other guys that you thought deserved honorable mentions, stuff like that. Subscribe so you can get more of these great videos in your subscription box, or whatever they call it nowadays, and share where you want to. Thank you guys for watching, of course. Have a good day.